Hello, my name is Alejandro, and this is a quick overview of memory hacking in video games. If you play video games, you have probably experienced online hacks such as aimbot, wall hack, fly hacks, and more. This is a quick look into how those are made. I'll be using Cheat Engine and then writing my own hack trainer in C++. In here, we using Cheat Engine, I open the game, and my goal here is to find the value for the player. In this case, I'm looking for the y-axis. This process can take a lot of time. An easy way is to move the character in such a way that the y-axis changes. Initially the value is unknown, so we'll search for everything. I increase the location of my character by climbing on top of something, and then search for an increased value in the memory. Then move down and search for a decreased value. Usually you will repeat this step a few dozens of times or a few hundreds of times, but to narrow down the values and to make this video short and speed up things up, since I have the source code of this game and I know what the value looks like, here you can see me looking for 1.019. At the end we have 4 possible values. I select all of them and I go one by one, changing them until I find the correct one. Once I'm changing, we can see how in the game the character moves up since I'm increasing the Y, and then he moves down because he's being affected by gravity. Now I have the value, but the next time the game loads, that address will not be used. Therefore, I need to find what it points to, what points to this value. I proceed to generate a pointer map. These are all the addresses that point to this value. There are thousands. I exit the game and repeat the process to find the address for the y-axis in the new game. Once I find and I compare the pointers from the first game to the pointers from the second game. These are pointers that point to the y-axis of the character. Now here I'm just gonna speed up this part because it's basically the same exact thing. I'm looking for the y-axis just in a different game. Then I'm gonna compare the pointer maps, which are all the pointers of the two games. The way you do that now is you click to scan for pointer games. Here we're gonna click on compare results with another save pointer maps, which is what we created before. We select the file and we select the address that was used by the previous file. In here I decrease this because it's a really small game, so it should work. We just save somewhere the values. I see here that I have 3 addresses point to the value of the y-axis in both games. These are pointers that will stay even if you close the game. Here you can see me changing the value of the pointers and the characters, and the character moves up. We can also see that I changed the non-pointer addresses we found earlier and they don't do anything. This is due to that they are not used anymore by the game, but the pointers I found, they work perfectly. You might be wondering, what can this be used for? Well, if you can read the memory, you can make a fly hack if you can modify the y-axis. You can also look for the health to make the player immune, increase ammo, shooting speed. You can create a wall hack by using Windows API and draw a square on the enemy if you have the coordinates. You can make an aimbot if you can read the enemy locations as well using the Windows APIs and to move the mouse, and a lot more of cheats. Going back to my demo, in here now I will freeze the memory and set it to 500. Now my character is flying. The character is now stuck at 500 height. This game also connects to a server, but the server doesn't have the sufficient anti-cheat, therefore we're able to do this. Now, this can be combined with the X and Y axis to be able to fly around the map, but I'll keep it simple for the time's sake, and I only work with the Y axis. A game trainer is an external software made to modify memory of a computer, thereby modifying its behavior in order to allow cheating. Next, I will demo my simple trainer. On the right here in this image, we can see an example of a game trainer fully developed. This is a code from my external trainer. As a reference, I use codeproject.com and guided hacking on YouTube. The code first looks at the process ID of the actual game, which is the name of the game, and then it gets the module using the process ID. Now the module, as you can see, is the one that we found using Cheat Engine. We can see here is the same thing, Unity Player. Then it goes ahead and opens that process with all access, rewrite everything. We want to make sure we can do everything. And now we recalculate the address using the module that we have found plus the base address, which is this one here also on Sheet Engine that we found. So it's basically we're doing basically the same thing. This next few address, they're just used to read and verify that we getting the correct address. Basically when we run this, the address that we should be seeing is this one. I also coded my own method named recalculate internal address, which correctly gets the internal address. After we get the address, we need to calculate the final address using the offsets. The offsets, they're also found on Sheet Engine. For example, we can see here 2448, here 2448, 0, and so on. I loop through all these addresses and the offsets until I reach a final address which contains the float value for the y-axis. Basically, same thing that the Sheet Engine does. It adds the offset, the next one offset, and so on. And for the last address, which is the one that contains the actual float value and not a pointer, I just recalculate it and I save it on the same variable. In here I just we read it as a float to make sure, and output just to make sure that we get the right value. And last, I added a while loop. Now every time I type a 1, the y-axis will be changed to 500, making the character fly. Now, quick demo of the code that I wrote. Here you can just see me running from Visual Studio. Go ahead and type a 1. You can see in the game that the character will move. Every time you type 1, he will get the value reset to 500, so he will fly. There are not many solutions for flying games. Since you'll be running all the code in your machine, and will be able to modify it. For online games, the solution for something like a fly hack is to keep the value on the server side and kick the user if it desyncs. For other things such as aimbot, one solution is to have a process which processes the mouse movements of the users and determine if they can be human or not. Another solution is to target the game trainer, and if one is running too close to crash the game. The future, currently there are artificial intelligence aimbots written in Python with less than 60 lines of code. Currently, due to the high processing and the ISO not be trained well enough, it's currently slow most of the time, but in the future we might see people cheating online using AI. Few last things. I did learn all of this to be able to do this project on the past few days. Also, the game that I have all the rights for it and the source code. That's why I was able to do it legally. Do not do this for 20 online games. It will simply not work. And do not do it to an offline game if the company does not allow it. Play fair. Thank you very much for watching.